The social life of horses fascinates me so much. There's something that happened 2 months ago with my horses, my gelding Canelo, and the mare that he lives with, Lluvia. We needed to separate Lluvia for a few weeks. And when we separated her, because of where space was and pastures available, she ended up going into a pasture with another gelding that was just, it was far enough away that there was no contact, but she was in sight of Canelo. And when she was in that other pasture, she was with another gelding called Simon. And before this separation happened, Canelo and Lluvia were tight. They would be always grooming each other. They were standing close together. Their interactions were soft and were tender. Since this separation and Lluvia's time with Simon, I haven't noticed a big difference in her behavior towards Canelo, but there's been a drastic change in Canelo's behavior towards her. He will chase her away from food, he'll chase her away from water. He rarely stands next to her. He now chooses other horses that he's with to stand next to. When I'm riding, and I will sometimes ride where I'm riding him and I need to be owning, leading her from the side, he doesn't want her close. From my human perspective, of course, I put this story to it of, did he see her with this other gelding, and now, like a jealous boyfriend, he's angry and can't let it go? So I think horses have an emotional life and a social life that we don't yet understand. And it begs this question whenever we're reading our horses, do we really know what they're feeling?
I mean, I think this is just such a vast, brilliant topic. And I think, you could be right. You absolutely could be right. But I think the answer is we don't know. And knowing what horses feel, yeah, it's a super interesting topic. And I've seen situations like that myself. In fact, Callie, when you and I were in California with the Mustangs, you could see what we perceived as jealousy going on. You could see controlling behavior. You could see friendship. You could see anxiety, so many different feelings. But we don't know that that's what they were feeling. And I think that we see things through our own lens. I've worked with a vast amount of students, and it's just the best gift in the world. But it's really interesting how everyone's vision of their horse is through their own filter. So let's say someone sends me in a video for review, which is my favorite work to do. And they will write alongside it and be like, look, you can see my horse doesn't want me. They don't care for me. They don't like me. And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting that that's your observation, because that's not what I'm seeing in the video. What I'm seeing is that your horse is turning their head away because maybe they feel it's a bit too much pressure, or maybe they're concerned where the rest of the herd is. But I think as humans, and you and I have talked about this before, Callie, we need to attach stories to things. Um, and I think sometimes it can be our story that we attach. Maybe we're not feeling very liked or loved or nurtured by people around us, and then we see it in our horses. Now, I do think sometimes there is some validation. I think horses can be mirrors to us, but they've also got their own stuff going on, their own lives, their own social network, their own social hierarchy and structure, and that can bring up a huge amount of emotions in horses. But I think you're right. I'm not sure we really know what it is that they're feeling.
I've been researching this a lot, and even the researchers that are on the leading edge of animal emotion, they say the same, that we make certain assumptions because we're humans, we're mammals. As mammals, we share some of the brain structures with our horses that have those emotional centers in them. So, from that, we can make some assumptions of what we feel in situations and what the animals around us may feel as well in terms of basic emotions. So happiness, fear, surprise, anxiety. But when we start going to the secondary emotions, so things like guilt, shame, those are the ones that we really don't know how much other animals experience, because as humans, we experience an emotion. So something happens. I'll just use something that happened this morning. My dog was throwing up. I saw her throwing up because
The
of
best alarm clock in the world.
because of, empathy. I see her feeling poorly. I feel sad. But then this story kicks in of, oh, I fed her that food that I know she got sick on before. Why did I do that? And now I start to feel guilty. And
Yeah,
that's the thing that I believe our horses don't do as much as we do, because also just looking at the brain structure,
yeah,
they certainly can plan for the future. It's not that they don't have memories of the past or think about the future. They're not always, completely in the moment in that way, but they don't have the same level of ruminating thoughts that we
yeah,
humans do because of our big brain and our the big front of our brain. So I think that it also can be a potential ethical problem if we start saying things like, "Ah, he knew better. He's trying to get back at me,"
yes.
etc., and start assuming that the horse is
Plotting
feel
against you.
yes,
Yeah.
feeling and thinking about things cognitively at a level that's just not what they do, what they experience.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And yet then this week I saw a video that's been doing the rounds a little bit and I thought it was super fascinating. And there was a young girl at a gate and there was a horse trying to crush her. And maybe, again, we don't know what that horse was thinking or feeling. Maybe he thought that she was a scratching post. It didn't look like that. It definitely looked like he was pushing on her and she was trying to push him off. Horses go into pressure. There may not have been malice in it, but the end result was this girl was getting crushed and she was getting crushed. And there was another horse in the background and it was watching. And that horse came over, put its head and neck over the other horse, and pushed the horse off that girl so that she could escape. And that really got me thinking. It was like, okay, what was that horse thinking? What was it feeling? Did it feel protection? Did it feel empathy for the girl? We don't know, is the answer, but there is so much research and so much that we need to admit that we don't know, and that it's not super helpful always to be determined to think that we do know what that horse was thinking. Because if you're working with a horse in front of you, for instance, and you're asking them to do something which potentially is in their benefit, and you are coming from a lens of maybe your own past experiences of like, I don't want to have to ask this horse to do this. Um, it can make you feel quite uncomfortable. I've had that experience myself. I've had that experience myself. But we then start to project towards that horse. And I'm not sure that that is super helpful. And I've done it where you think, oh no, this horse doesn't like this. It's feeling worried. It's feeling, well, actually, is it? Or am I feeling that? And I think that is a very valid piece. And I might have videoed myself whilst I'm feeling that. And I've done that. I used to video a lot of my training sessions. And I would look back objectively at the horse. And it's like, now I don't see that worry. Now I'm not feeling that that's what he was going through. And it was my own projection. And I think that's something just to bear in mind, that we try to guess at what a horse is feeling. And quite often it's going through our own lens.
Yes. We also literally experience the world, like we literally experience the world through a different lens because our senses are so different.
Yes.
We see more directly in front of us, of course. We can't see all the way around. Horses have almost 350-degree vision. We have greater acuity, so we see things in more detail than the horses see. horses hear at a range that is far greater than what we
Yeah.
can perceive. And they also sense. So you said this in the last webinar that we were on together about a horse noticing vibration from
Hmm.
passing farm equipment. And I
Hmm.
thought, man, that is fascinating because I hadn't thought about that. And I actually dug into the research, and there's been research that proves that horses feel
Yeah.
vibrations
Yeah.
before it's perceived by humans. So we think about when we're just walking down the trail, what we're seeing, hearing, experiencing is actually completely different than the
Totally.
world that our horses are experiencing going down that trail. And the horse can be then having emotional experiences and feeling things that we're not, because we're experiencing a different world in that moment.
That's exactly right. And when we decide this is what the horse is feeling, what we're effectively then doing is shutting off our own awareness. We're shutting off any other possibility that that horse might be feeling something different to that. And that's why I think it's very important to read all the signals of the horse, all the signs that they might be giving us and where their focus is. And yeah, that vibration thing is huge. I mean, it's been documented, I believe, that when earthquakes are coming, I think it was with elephants or different animals in, I can't remember where, in Asia somewhere. It wasn't a scientific study. It was, people's anecdotal evidence was these animals left way before other people started moving because we didn't feel it.
Mm,
We didn't feel it, but they
amazing.
can. And many a times there's been stories of animals knowing about things like tsunamis coming. They're at a level of awareness that we're just not. So I think labeling them too quickly of what we decide they are feeling, I think that can be to our detriment sometimes. It's hard not to do it though.
Yes. Yes, and it's a balance because sometimes that anthropomorphism helps us
Yeah.
to have empathy and compassion, and it helps us to have some level of understanding, but in the end, the best that we can do is become better and better observers, to
Yes.
look to really see what's in front of us, and I think to approach with more of a lens of curiosity and
Yes.
how could I help this horse and myself feel better in this moment, because that's really the best that we can do.
Yeah. That's a really great point. Yeah. I'm just really interested to see where this all goes in, 50 years of how things will be so different when we have different understanding. And, I really feel like big shifts are coming when we see, videos that pop up of cross species interaction of how they're helping each other and understanding each other. And it's like, as humans, we're a little bit behind the curve on that. So it's exciting to see where it's all going to go.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here. We appreciate having you here. As always, if you want to talk more about you and your horse and explore a path to build a greater friendship and a greater relationship, talk to Andrea, book a call on her calendar. We've been having so much fun at seeing the stories from the students that are in your mentorship. Really makes a huge difference.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. There's so many wonderful people out there. And, if I can help someone understand their horse a little better and help them find more joy in what they're doing together, that's a day well spent for me. So yes, book a call with me. I'd love to hear from you.
Yes, book a call with Andrea. For those of you that are riding, want support in your riding, we've got lots of resources at horseclass.com. And as always, if there's a topic that you want us to discuss here, send it in. We would love to learn more about you and your horse and help you in these weekly sessions. See you next time.
Bye, guys.